Hi guys, my name is Lexis. I'm an analyst for Blue57. Just so you know a little background about Blue57, it's an NCAA approved scouting service tracking high school football players with Power 5 offers in 9 states. At Blue57, we believe mindset is more important than talent. Today I'm joined with Coach Jay, the owner of Blue57, Darrell Davis, who is a scout for Blue57, and also Lucas Thorp, who is also another scout for Blue57. So Coach Jay, can you just tell us what made you start Blue57?
Sure. This is kind of like an 8-year journey for me where I've been involved with football recruiting. I've been involved with taking kids to camps, taking kids to games, Power 5 players for really the last 8 years. I've taken them to visit campuses during the off season, and I recognize that the coaches kind of came out with the same message every time. And they basically talk about their school and all the benefits of their school. But most of these college coaches, because they have such a busy schedule, they do not know the details of individual players. And I have had guys that were #1 in the state of Florida. I've had top players where the coaches did not know anything about their background, and they just try to push their stuff. And when I went to a big SEC football game about 4 years ago, when I left that game, it's just like a light went off, and it's like, listen, they don't understand these kids' personalities. They don't understand their family backgrounds. They don't understand their religious beliefs. Somebody needs to give them that information. And that's really kind of where Blue 57 was birthed. And, we've proceeded to get that information and also to know the players and to communicate that information to the college coaches.
Agreed. I definitely think that's useful. Lucas, I know you've been a high school football coach for many years, and you've been a part of the Blue57 team for 2 years. What is your perspective on why you think college coaches need to partner with Blue57?
Well, ultimately, what college coaches are always up against is a lack of time and a lack of money to really get to know all of these kids well and to find the best fit for them. So what we do is that we kind of do that legwork for them. So they have to spend less money, less time, and they get more information. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're kind of crowdsourcing all the information for them so that they can know the players and save time, know where they're going, and ultimately save their program's money. And ultimately, college coaches have 2, 3, 4 years to prove that they can recruit the best kids and, produce a winning season before they have to move on or they get told to move on. And so simplifying that and getting them the best talent with the best fit for their coaching styles is ultimately in the best benefit for them and their career longevity.
And Darrell, I know you're a college football player. So what's been your perspective on scouting ever since you joined the Blue57 team?
Yeah, like going over from coming into high school, going into college, that short recruiting window is like Lucas was saying, they have a short amount of time to try to get to know a long list of players they're trying to get to within a short time frame. So you might have like between each other day, you might have like a 20-minute conversation with a coach, and that might be all you get for the recruiting part because he has so many players to go through. But with Blue 57, it gives the coaches an easy opportunity to just look at learn about each player, and then when they have that phone call, it's a powerful phone call because you build in a relationship. When it's time to come down to if he's getting the offer or not, the relationship's already built, and he might commit because you have a better relationship with the coach.
So, Alexis, I know you've done the student athlete thing. You have a psychology background. When you came into our scouting organization, there was a learning curve, and you were seeing it from a different perspective. What do you like about Blue 57?
What I really like about Blue57 is that the coaches can see like a kid for like himself, his beliefs, his interests, and I think that's so important for their relationship. And definitely to see not only if the kid fits on the team, but like if that player fits with what you're bringing on, and then fitting with your other players too. So that's what I really like about Blue57. I think it's really useful for the coaches as well.
That's great. That's great. So, Lucas, you have an MBA, so your perspective is always going to be the really is it a business model that works? And you know that these colleges are dealing with millions and millions of dollars. And so, you know, I saw a couple of years ago where a coach that was he was an offensive coordinator for an SEC school. He got on a plane. This coach makes $1 million a year. He got on a plane, flew down, saw a player in Jacksonville. This player had no intentions of going to that school at all. The coach came in, he looked at his transcript, he got back on a plane and flew to North Carolina and did something similar. He only spent like 3 minutes with the guy. The player had never even left the state of Florida. He had gone to Miami, Florida State, and Florida. But when you amortize what a coach is making $1 million a year, you got to pay for the plane ticket, you got his salary, you got his time. Is that a good use of coach's money, of the school's money?
Really, it's not. And as much money as football really does make, there are finite resources. There's only so much time, there's so much money that they can put towards recruiting a player. And when you swing on something like that and miss, you know, that's a big detriment to your program. And maybe if you knew a little bit more about, you know, the kid, you could hit a few more 4-star, 5-star kids that might actually fit with what you're doing and have better recruiting results overall.
Well, the other thing that a lot of coaches and personnel guys have told me is they book plane tickets for entire families that never even show up. So they'll book a kid to come in for a visit, and the entire family does not show up. So, I mean, just from a financial side, that they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on stuff where they're getting no return.
Yeah, and that's not even to mention how much time and resources in the athletic department that's using up. You know, ultimately, what it is it's a lot of inefficiencies that aren't using the totality of resources available that might give them, you know, a much easier way, or, you know, able to focus on a player that's going to help them much more than, you know, giving that 3 minutes or that 20 minutes to individual players that really aren't going to help them keep their job or win games.
Right. So it's really more about targeting the right players, and you got to know who those guys are and target the right players.
Absolutely.
I mean, we track players in 9 states. Right now, we only track kids with Power 5 offers in those 9 states. So you get that right now we're about 1,750 kids that we've evaluated from a psychological aspect and just trying to understand their mental mindset. Lexis, the thing that has happened in the past year is with the portal, a lot of these schools are not going to the high schools to get players. They're going to the portal, and they're picking guys from there that have already gone through a year at another school. And so you have kids. Not only do we have a high percentage of kids decommitting, but you're not really locked in on the players that are on your roster. You don't know who's going to jump on that portal and try to go somewhere else. So the programs that are struggling, they're going to continue to go through a lot of players coming and going. With your psychology hat on, how important is it to know who the player is, who the rebels are, who the guys are that are going to be loyal to you and stay with you?
Like I was saying before, what I really liked about Blue57 was how we get to see a kid's beliefs and interests. And I think that's important for a coach to know before they bring them onto the team, so that you can know if they're, no matter what. And then you can probably get a gist if they're going to stay. Because obviously a kid wants to and I would say elevate their performance. So it's important that they know that coach is a good fit for them, and that the coach knows they're a good fit for them and their team and their players, and they could all grow together. So yeah, I think all that really just helps coaches in the end to really understand if the player is going to stay on the team or not.
Well, I can tell you, when I see all these decommits come through, I know that these coaches got to be that's just got to be extremely frustrating, because they've spent a lot of time. They've gone to the head coach and said, we got this tight end from Florida. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, with no notice, it shows up on Twitter. I appreciate all the coaches have done, but I'm decommitting. That's got to be that's just a lot of wasted time. And I think that with social media, the kids are constantly comparing themselves, and this thing is just from a coaching and recruiting standpoint, I think that it's getting harder and harder. I don't believe that coaches can just go for how strong they are, what their height and weight are, their 40 time, and their huddle film, which is what most of these colleges have based their recruiting on for the last 25 years. And then a lot of them have, they know people at St. Thomas Aquinas, they know people at Trinity Christian, they know the top schools and they know the top players. But Lucas, what do you think about just, they got to have more information. They absolutely got to have more information. And how do you see this big change with, our society is also more geared toward knowing people, profiling people, understanding who people are before they join your organization?
Well, I totally agree. And one of the things that you said there really struck me was that, 25 years ago, we were scouting the same way. Well, 25 years ago, we weren't coaching the same way. We weren't recruiting. We weren't, watching film the same way. We weren't doing anything the same way, but the only thing that's lagging behind now is the recruiting process. And no longer can you really go into these places and ask, hey, who do you got? Which is what college coaches do. They don't even know a lot of the players. They know the high schools. They'll walk in and say, okay, coach, what's going on? Good to see you again. Haven't seen you in forever. What do you got? And that's just not working anymore. And, places that are winning the recruiting battle are doing something different, or they're just waiting for their responsibility and their reputation to kind of take it over for the kids. And if you're not in one of those big time schools, why would you play the same game that they are? Because you're never going to win that game. You have to do something different. You have to learn a different way of doing it. You have to get into these kids and talk to them in a different way, just as if you were coaching the offensive line or a running back. You're not going to coach them the same way. You're not going to coach two running backs necessarily the same way, but you're going to recruit every one of these kids the exact same way with, hey, how's it going? Here's all about my school. Hope to have you out for a visit. And it's disingenuous, and kids see that. That's the one tenet of being a coach, is that, you can't BS kids. They see right through it, and they see through these coaches when they come in, and they know that that's not it's an offer, but, is it really worth anything, or is it just hearsay?
Right. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, I've been talking to some of these player personnel guys, and they're just like, they're talking about other colleges, and I'm like, well, why are you guys putting out so many offers? And he's like, well, we have to. He said these other liars and con men are putting out a bunch of offers. We got no choice. We got to play the same game. And I was like, no, you don't. Why don't you get to know the players better? And he's like, we just don't have that kind of time. And that's really why Blue 57 came about. Is we have a 40-man army that is constantly researching these players, and we're seeing constant changes. Even with the recent COVID-19 stuff and all the protests that have been going on, a lot of these players are showing a different side to their personality that we didn't know before. And so I think it's just important for coaches to know the players, know what they're about, what they believe, and I think that makes for bringing somebody into your organization. I mean, the amount of stuff that we do for the people that we bring in, we interview them multiple times. We ask them a lot of psychological questions. We just like to know who they are, what they're about, and then we put them through a training period where at any point, if they just don't do things the right way, we drop them. And so, that is, these coaches, once they got an offer to a kid, he's at least committed for 1 year, but many times they just don't even know what they got. So any other thoughts that you want to say, Lexis, about just Blue 57 and what you like about what we're doing and how that helps college coaches?
I just really think it's important that the coach knows who they're bringing on to really see if the kid is a good fit, not only their physical game, but their personality as well, because you're not only bringing them on to compete on the field, you're bringing them on to be around your other players. So you got to make sure that they mesh well with everybody else. And I think it's just really important. I think Blue 57 allows coaches to really see the personality of a player and what else they bring besides their physical aspect.
Because mindset is more important than talent. And the final story I have is we had a top recruit in this Jacksonville area that we sent over to a SEC school. And when they went to the school, the parents were devout Christians. They went to the school, and the head coach, who was no longer there, but the head coach there was dropping the F-bomb multiple times. This kid had grown up as a fan of that school, and it's a huge school. He had grown up as a fan of them. He wanted to go there, had the posters on the wall, gone to games, the whole deal. But when they met with the head coach and he was dropping F-bombs left and right, the parents said, there is no way that our son will go to that school. And I think that, you know, I've lived in the South my whole life. I've seen that perspective, and I know about a lot of these families. They have their morals, and they're not going to put their son under a coach who is not Christian or not high morals. And so, you know, we do interview a lot of these players. We gather a lot of information on them. We're constantly trying to track their social media to kind of see how they feel about different things. And so we have a good feel for who they are. And so I think that all of that has been, it's just something that's much needed for college football coaches in recruiting. So I appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for taking time to do this interview. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Blue57 and check us out at blue57.net. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, good job, guys. I appreciate it. Do we miss anything? We get everything?
We got everything.
We got everything. Did you guys get to say what you came with or what you thought we were going to talk about? I mean, I know we kind of just did it very raw, and that's what I wanted it to be. I think it's good. Each one of you guys have a different perspective, and that's really what we wanted to get. So you guys, everybody say what they wanted to say.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good deal. All right, thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. See ya.
All right. You too.
Have a good one.
You too.